Hey, welcome back everyone. I didn't even change the screen for your viewing pleasure. Let's go ahead and continue on where we left off, which was, of course, implementing a store, as well as the listenables and the actions, functions that will be called, and of course the actions themselves. We have not really touched our list at all yet. And so what I want to do now is finish up this. We're going to refactor our list, get that HTTP request out of there, and we're going to move it over to here so you can start getting a context of how this is going to work. So let's go over to our list.jsx, and in component wheel mount, I'm just going to grab this and do Command X. It's gone. And go back to the ingredient store, and we are just going to paste it over here with get ingredients. So we've just refactored code, and we've moved it from a bad place into a better place, and so nothing here is actually changing, which is good. This is what we want. Well, we will change things, but as of right now, it's all working and fine. So there's some things we need to do. So let's pretend that we just got data back, just like we did before, right? So the HTTP request is made, it hits the server, it downloads the data, and it gets passed to us right here. So what do we do with new data? Okay, this is the point of stores. When data changes, we need to figure out what to do with it. So this dot ingredients, okay, equals data, okay, or we could call this JSON because that's really what it is. It's JSON, right? So that's where it's coming from. Yeah, well, let's keep it at JSON so as not to be confusing. We know that this is the JSON data that we've received from the server here. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're saying this dot ingredients, and remember, even though you don't see it anywhere, like we didn't actually create an ingredients variable anywhere. Okay, remember, create store, our store is an object, and so we can just by saying this dot ingredients, it's going to store that data there. Okay, so this dot ingredients equals JSON. We hit the server, we downloaded the ingredients, and we're storing it in the store. Storing it in the store, right? So that's what we're doing right here. Do we need this dot set state anymore? No, we don't, because this is not a component. So here's a question for you. We've just downloaded the data from the server. How do we let our components know that we have new data? If you said call this dot fire update, you were absolutely correct. Makes sense, right? So we've downloaded data from the server. Let's call fire update, which is going to call this dot trigger. Remember, I could have also just have done this, but I don't want to duplicate code. So this dot trigger, which is a reserved Reflux function, and we want to do the change event, and we're going to pass in this dot ingredients because we stored it here, so we know it's now new data, and we're going to pass it in through there, and so our components are going to listen for it and receive that data, which is exactly what we want to have happen. And so really, we're done with the GET request, which is really cool, right? So with this post ingredient, I'm not going to do anything yet. What I want to do first is get our application running with the GET request, and then we'll go back and do the post request and add the extra elements there that we need. So GET ingredients, this looks great. Our HTTP service, it's doing its thing. That we don't have to change anything there actually. So that's cool. So there's our actions, and there's our ingredients, our ingredient store. I'm just looking to make sure we've got everything we need here, and I think that we do. So let's go over to our list. So we've nailed 2 out of 3 things down. We've got our actions created, we've got our store created, and last thing we need to do is work on our list. And so if you remember from the process, our components need to listen for changes, right? So let's go ahead and add the things that we need here. We don't need this anymore, HTTP. So we need Reflux. They should have picked a better name. Every time you type reflux, you get acid reflux. It's not a happy thing. Okay, so reflux, okay? What else do we need? Well, we need our actions, right? So actions equals require, and where are our actions living? We're in our components folder, so we need to go up a directory and then into reflux, not flux, reflux. And then actions.jsx is what we need, okay? And then we need our store, var ingredient store, okay, equals require, and that's /reflux/ingredient-store.jsx. Okay, that looks good to me. Okay, so we've got our store. That's looking good. So let's talk about the specific Reflux things we're going to need to do with our component here. So this is our existing component. So what we're going to do is add a mixins here. And if you don't know what mixins are, for a layman's explanation, they are whatever you put in the mixins becomes publicly available, really, like as if the classes were there available for you to access. You're basically saying, hey, add these in here so we can use them and call them without having to explicitly, like, go, actions.this.that or grab a certain file. Anyway, that's all. So what we want to do is say reflux.listen to, okay? Pay attention to the listen, a listener, an observer, okay? Very important. Ingredient store. Okay, and what are we listening for? Or excuse me, what function do we want to call for the change? And that's onChange. Okay, so, what's going on here? We are listening to the ingredient store. Okay, so this is where our view says, hey, if the data changes, I want to listen for it. This is important because all of your views or components, they can now listen for whatever store that you want. And whenever the data changes, it'll instantly get that update, which is pretty dang amazing. And what we're saying here is, hey, what's the name of the function that we should call when that change is made? Okay, and so ours is going to be called onChange. That's specifically what we're calling it. And I haven't created that function yet. So, hey, component listened. We want to listen for anything happening in the ingredient store. We could add other stores in here too, which is really cool. But we only have one that we need to worry about right now. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and create that onChange function. So where should we put that? Let's put it right here. And we're going to say onChange. It's a function. Let's just clean it up here. And what kind of parameters do you think we should put in here? Any idea? Well, if you go back to the ingredient store, we're calling trigger, and it passes in the event type. In this case, it's a change, and then it's also passing in whatever data you want to pass into it. So we need two parameters there. And where I lost my list. There it is. And so let's say event, or you could do E, and then we're going to say ingredients, or you could have just said data. Here's something interesting. If we were listening to multiple components, we might keep this more of a generic name, or this could be called onChange ingredients, and you could have another one called onChange, create another listen to, and then an onChange to-dos or whatever. So I'm going to leave it explicit since it's explicit to what we need, and this is ingredients. It's just the data we got back from the store, which got it from the server. So does that make sense? So let's recap here what's happening. We're listening for any changes in the store, all right? And then we are over here in our ingredients, okay? It's just triggering the change. And then it's going to, anyone who's listening, it's going to pass that data in that we told it to pass in. Okay? Look through the code. If you don't get it, you'll get it as you closely examine it. Sorry if I'm being extra redundant, but this is really important to understand, okay? So what are we going to do onChange whenever data changes? Well, this is pretty simple, right? You know what to do now. Set state, ingredients, and we'll pass in the new ingredients. Okay? That's cool. So whenever the data changes, let's set the state of the component with the new data as we're doing right here. And it will automatically do what it needs to do. Okay, so very cool. What else do we need to do in here? Not much. We a few more things, but not much really. Component will mount, of course, that's still there from before. And we can just say get ingredients. Okay. So that's a new thing, right? Actions.get ingredients. So what it's doing is it's calling our actions file here. And you're like, wait, that's a string. How is it calling a string? Well, remember, Reflux does that for you automatically. It maps the string into a function. Okay. So what's happening here is when this component first loads, you're saying, hey, I need data. I need to trigger an action. Okay. So it calls the action and says, hey, let's use this action right here, get ingredients, which in turn, since we're listening for those actions in our store, it's going to call this right here. So technically, what's happening here is going all the way over to the store, and it's getting called right here. It's calling this. And then it calls the get request, it downloads the data, and then it puts the data into this .ingredients, and then we call this .fire update, which goes here, and we're saying this .trigger the change, this.ingredients. It passes in that new data we just got, and then it goes back over here, and this onChange function is called because we listened for it right here. That is the circle of life. Okay, so not bad. So when it loads, let's grab the ingredients. I think that makes sense. And then this will load right here. Okay, what else do we need? It's kind of coming together, I think. Should we give it a shot and see if it even works? So let's give it a shot. Let's make sure it compiles first. I'm going to open my terminal here. And where are we? We're in the server. Let's go to the fetch project, which is right here. All right, let's go ahead and run npm start. See, nvm use 4.2.2. Whenever I create a new tab, I have to do nvm again. And npm start. Okay, moment of truth. Cannot find module Reflux ingredient store. It's because I think I called it ingredients store. So let's save that. Try it again here. Ugh, it's yelling at me. Okay, cannot find module Reflux from HTTP with fetch components, Reflux. And did I forget to install it? I thought we installed it here. I guess we did not. My bad. So let's do that now. Command K. npm install reflux -- save. I could have swore we did this. Am I going crazy? You guys are like, no, you're an idiot. You didn't install it. All right. Let's install it now. Okay, it looks like it's installed. Let's go ahead and run npm start again. There we go. Looking good. So cool. Now we need to get our server up and going, right? So here's our server. Let's ls and see what's going on here. Okay, so let's just run nodemon server.js, and I'm running nodemon in case I ever decide to make changes on it. So our server is now running on port 6060, I believe. And let's just make sure that's where it is. Yep. Localhost 6060. I'll just copy this here. There's one more thing I want to do. Whenever you're working with servers, even though it may work sometimes without it, it's always good now to start loading your HTML via server. Okay, it's especially when you're working with routes and stuff. But we're going to do that just for safety's sake here. So I'm going to Command T for a new tab. I'm going to use Node again here, and what I'm going to do is say http-server, which you should already have installed. Say -p, and we're going to say 6767. So we're going to load up our website here at 6767. Okay, so if I open up a browser now, so ideally if this all worked, okay, notice how there's no ingredients here, right? Okay, and also notice how get initial state, it's empty, and we call get ingredients, which goes over here and downloads it. So if it all worked, we should see a list of ingredients, and it should be downloading from the server, but except it should be doing it from our store now, which means if our store is working, that means Reflux is successfully implemented if we see data on the screen. So moment of truth, and I see nothing. What do you see? Okay, failed to load resource, in promise, type error, failed to fetch. Okay, so we've got some problems. Let's go ahead and fix these now. Failed connection refused, promise. Okay, yeah, we got a few problems here. Let's go ahead and fix them. Let's just take a look at our node code here real quick. Oh, where'd you go? Where are you hiding? Let's. Okay, come on. Ah, here it is. Okay, so we're running it at 6069. It changed, and so it really needs to be running at 6069 here as well too in our React project. I was calling the wrong URL, couldn't find it. So let's open up that terminal again here, and let's go ahead and run it again. Oops. Let's kill this server here. Oh, I killed the wrong thing here. I'm just entering the wrong thing. Nodemon server.js. Man, some people's kids. Okay, so it is now running. Let's refresh the page. There's our list. Okay, you see the problem was that it said connection refused, which led me to believe that something's wrong with my server or path or something. Fix that. I was on the wrong port, and it is working. So this is successfully refactored into Reflux. Very cool, right? So we are successfully working with Reflux in our application. Now, our implementation is fairly simple, okay? We've just implemented the bare minimums, and so I'm going to implement a post request now so you can see a little bit more of it in action, and we'll do that in the next video though. So, success to you and to me for getting Reflux into place. And remember, to get your free live help, go to devslopes.com and click on chat room. I'm there all the time, as well as a huge community of other students.